when you've got a lot of these corrupt individuals and governments, they have a printing press. So if we create a new Bitcoin, I can go in and buy it and manipulate the whole market. And that's what they've been doing. So my thought is the only way for this to work is to step away from the fiat system. Is that possible?
I think it is possible, but we have to build a system that's based on sound monetary principles. And I'm not sure where you necessarily want to go today, but I'm prepared to talk about my chips in a theoretical standpoint, from a monetary theory standpoint. I'm also, I mean, I can just show it to you and show you what it looks like. When we use Venmo that you just mentioned, there's Roy over here and there's Kyle over here. And if I want to transfer money to Roy, I have to go hop to Venmo and then I have to go to Roy. There's a man in the middle. And what your lament that you just expressed is based on is this man in the middle concept, is there's always something in the middle that we interact with. And that architecture looks like a wagon wheel. All of us are on the outside of the wagon wheel, but these spokes come into some central place and everything has to come into the middle in order to be dealt with. Well, in my chips, I just have a list of people or companies that I interact with, and it truly is peer-to-peer. It's based on the peer-to-peer network of private credit arrangements, and there is nothing in the middle. It's like Venmo without the Venmo. It's Venmo with just the other people and the other companies on the other end that I deal with. You know, blockchain was a big step forward because we used to have to interact with a bank, and the bank was the man in the middle. And I like to use the analogy of Uber. We used to have to always go through the taxi company. And there was only one taxi company or maybe two. And if you wanted a taxi, you were going to have to pay a very high price because you had to call that taxi company and they had a monopoly and they could charge what they wanted. Well, Uber came in and decentralized that to a great degree. And now I could get on my phone and I could directly talk to my driver or my ride. And it allowed us to decentralize ride sharing to a great degree. But there still is Uber. And so still when I want to contact that driver, I still have to go through Uber. And so it's more decentralized, but there still is this core. Well, Bitcoin and public blockchain is very decentralized compared to fiat currency, but still there is a ledger. There's one ledger in the middle, and transactions have to come into the ledger and go back out of the ledger. So it's a step forward, but it does not reach the logical end of where distributed ledger technology needs to take us. Lightning Network is a big step, another big step in that direction, because we can go off ledger and we can make private sub ledgers, but eventually we still have to roll those back on the public ledger somewhere. Well, my chips takes the idea of distributed ledger technology to its logical extension all the way out to infinity. And essentially every two people in the network share what you could think of as a blockchain, a private blockchain between them. And it never resolves to a public blockchain. It is always private. And you end up with something that is actually more private than Bitcoin. It's safer. It's very difficult to lose. You can't lose your money the way you lose it on a public blockchain if you forget your passwords, for example. It's based on these relationships that you have. And so as long as your partner is still around, you haven't lost your money. And it's more scalable because every time a new person comes onto the network, you add storage and you add processing. It's very efficient. There's no mining. There's no proof of stake. There's no proof of work. And so a CPU somewhere in the world does not have to churn all the time just to keep your money safe. You're only churning CPU power when you actually make a transfer. So it's very efficient. It's low energy usage. It's stable. And so it really has a number of features that Bitcoin doesn't have, but the reason it works is because it's built on an entirely different monetary model from the ground up, and so it just works in a totally different